We move over to the Browns, who Joe Flacco and Amari Cooper absolutely destroyed the Houston defense. Flacco, 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, throws the 2 picks as Flacco does, but it doesn't matter. He finishes QB3 on the weekend. And we got to hear Flacco after the game on the idea thrown to him of being comeback player of the year. Take a listen.
It's got more awards time in the league and people talking about awards, and you're actually being discussed as comeback player of the year candidate. Do you consider this a comeback?
Who knows what constitutes as a comeback? I've only played 3 games. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Yeah, right, exactly. Come back from, not going to training camp and busting kids around.
I guess playing on the Jets the previous year now constitutes as a comeback player of the year candidate, Jay?
Yeah, I guess so. That was from our friend Bobby Trossett, who does a great job and asked a fantastic question to Joe Flacco. I think the Flacco, look, it's an amazing story, and he was out of his mind against the Texans. Some of these throws were just insane.
He's got a howitzer still.
The Jets defense is scared of Joe Flacco on Thursday night, I'll tell you that much. I don't think he's going to win comeback player of the year because I think that Damar Hamlin, as we've said before, Connor, there's only 2 blokes who ever come back from the dead, and Jesus of Nazareth didn't have a comeback player of the year to win. So I think Damar Hamlin is going to win that award. But Flacco, it's an incredible story. You see, he finishes the week as the #1 quarterback in fantasy, which I know all too well because Matthew Berry had him on his team going against mine in the fantasy semifinals. But I mean, Flacco, that connection with Amari Cooper and just his ability to throw the ball downfield. I mean, you don't want to start him against the Jets, I guess, but it certainly does have a higher ceiling than you'd ever have thought.
I guess we could ask you, Matthew. Are you going to start him against the Jets?
I think I have to, because my only other option in our league is Sam Howell, who's playing the 49ers and who's been benched in 2 straight games. So you see here's the matchup. You see it there on your screen, live at noon on the cock. That's my team. We dispatched the stick men. I thought I was going to lose, but Joe Flacco had other ideas, as did Amon-Ra St. Brown, my fantasy ride or die. My buddy 8, C.D. Lamb, of course, one of the few bright spots for the Cowboys this week. It was not to be for the stick men. Stephon Diggs did not have a good game, which we'll talk more about that later as well. That was absolutely brutal. Najee Harris didn't get you 1 touchdown. He didn't get you multiple. I thought for sure that was happening. Yeah, I mean, Flacco, unbelievable. But not only did he help me beat Jay, but Field Yates used him against me in my ESPN Dynasty League and knocked me out. I lost by 9 points. He tripled my Trevor Lawrence in that Dynasty League. Look, Joe Flacco, unbelievable. Over the last 4 weeks as the Cleveland starter, right? He's the 7th best quarterback in fantasy. He's averaging almost 20 fantasy points per game. He's had at least 300 passing yards and 2 touchdowns now in 3 straight games. He's in every single game that he's played for the Cleveland Browns, he's got at least 42 pass attempts. They're slinging it all over the place. And that's going to be the big question. We'll talk about this going further on in the week, but he now has to play the Jets revenge game, #revenge game for Joe Flacco on a short week. In my case, I think I have to use him because, again, my only options are Sam Howell or Bailey Zappi, just because we're in a 2 QB flex league where everyone that is any good at all is snapped up. So those are my options. I also have Jalen Hurts, as you saw on your screen there, as my #1 QB. But I think I am starting Flacco against the Jets and not feeling good about it. But we'll talk about this more. But I think as great a story as Joe Flacco is NFL-wise, an even better story fantasy-wise is what Amari Cooper did, putting fantasy teams on his back and leading them to the championship game. You see it there on your screen. The 2nd best fantasy performance this season. 51.5 fantasy points for Amari Cooper. And I would argue, and I think very successfully, it's the best fantasy performance of the year because it happened in week 16, a week in which, you were fighting, and so many big name players like Stephon Diggs for Jay, or Cooper Kupp or Stephon Diggs for me in the game that I lost to Field, right? Any of those, so many big names just didn't do anything. James Cook, Tony Pollard, we'll get into all these guys. So many people disappointed, and Amari Cooper just absolutely crushed and saved your bacon if you had him. 51.5 fantasy points as well. It's his 4th career game with over 200 receiving yards. In 2 of 4 games with Joe Flacco, he's got a 30% target share. This is a guy who obviously has a connection with Flacco as well. And I do feel like they move Cooper around enough, Connor, that they'll try to get him in matchups where he isn't seeing DJ Reed or Sauce Gardner, because as we've talked about, those guys are stationary. They don't follow a specific wide receiver. At least they haven't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, they won't trail. They typically don't. I mean, even in the game against Miami 2 weeks ago, they didn't have Sauce cover Waddle when Reed wasn't feeling that well. So I don't think it's any scenario where you're considering sitting Amari Cooper after this historic fantasy performance, and you probably feel okay about him in this short week matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, he is someone he's one of the more kind of anonymous stars in the league. I think it's because he doesn't really, like, if you picture Amari Cooper, what jersey do you picture him wearing? I picture him as an Oakland Raider. And then he has a stint in Dallas in between, now going to Cleveland. But the thing is that, like, Steven Nelson, Derek Stingley, they're not bad corners, and the coverage wasn't terrible on some of these plays. Amari was just catching absolutely everything. So I think he's locked in. You have to start him even against the Jets, clearly.
All right,
By the way, two quick things. Number one is obviously Amari Cooper drinks for free. By the way, congratulations. Just want to congratulate Amari Cooper. Obviously, he drinks for free at the happy hour. But more importantly, it's interesting. I saw somebody tweet this out. I think my buddy Matthew Friedman tweeted this out. But if he said basically, if the Cowboys don't trade Amari Cooper, they beat Miami. What do you think about that, Connor?
I think it's probably pretty fair. Easily. Where are the Cowboys as you see Amari Cooper drinks free? As we said, I mean, where are the Cowboys right now if it's CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper in this offensive attack?
It's completely ridiculous.
It's insane to think about.
In football.
There's an argument that they would be the Super Bowl favorites. I know it's weird to say that about one wide receiver added to the team, or at least in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the upgrade from Brandon Cooks or Michael
who's been
Gallup
good.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have been fine, but Amari Cooper's playing at a top 10, 12 receiver in football level at the moment.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest RotoWorld fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.